Here is a summary of the story, A Question of Trust, by Victor Canning. Horace Danby, a bachelor of 50 years, lived with a housekeeper and suffered from hay fever. Hay fever is an allergy caused by dust or pollen. Horace ran a successful lock business with 2 helpers. On account of this, he was believed to be a respectable person. The narrator, however, questions Horace's honesty. The narrator confides in the reader that Horace had been imprisoned once and retained a fear of getting caught. Despite this, Horace robbed a house once a year. He would plan the robbery carefully and, once successful, would live off the money for the rest of the year. He had a weakness for rare and expensive books. He would use the money from the robbery to buy rare books secretly. Horace was therefore confident that this year would be as successful as last year. He had already chosen his next target, a house at Shotover Grange. Horace had been watching the house for 2 weeks and knew it quite well now. He knew that the owners were in London and the house was empty. Horace had calculated that the safe contained £15,000 worth of jewels. The money from the jewels would last him for the year. Walking towards the house, he thought of the books he would buy with proceeds from the robbery. He put on a pair of gloves and took the key from the kitchen door. A little dog greeted him. Horace affectionately called it by its name and then moved on to the drawing room. There were flowers arranged on the table in the drawing room. They triggered his hay fever and he sneezed. Horace felt that the safe was not going to be difficult to crack. With confidence, he laid out his tools. Then he left the room to cut the burglar alarm. He sneezed when he entered again. The smell of flowers was proving as quite a distraction to his work. Suddenly, he heard a firm, quiet voice behind him, asking him whether he had a cold or hay fever. Then the voice advised Horace to get his condition examined. Otherwise, it might adversely affect his work. Horace turned. He saw a woman dressed in red, quite young and pretty. Sherry, the dog, was standing by her. He assumed it was the lady of the house. Hoping to avoid trouble, Horace answered charmingly that he wasn't expecting anyone to be home. The woman in red asked him what he is going to do now that he is caught. Horace wanted to run, but the woman, anticipating him, replies that she can call the police immediately. Horace counters her by saying he would cut the telephone wire. Then he tries to frighten the woman. Finally, he asks her to let him go. The woman in red replies sharply that society must be protected from men like him. Horace protests by saying that he only stole from the rich. Furthermore, he confides in her his fear of prison. The woman now asks Horace for a favor in exchange for his freedom. She had forgotten the safe combination and needed his help in opening it. Horace, eager to help her, opens the safe and hands the jewels over to the woman. Then he takes his leave, promising to be good. For 2 days, Horace kept his promise. On the 3rd day, however, the temptation for rare and expensive books overcame his promise to be good. He started planning his next robbery, but poor Horace never got the chance. He was arrested for stealing the jewels from Shotover Grange. He had quite carelessly left his fingerprints all over the safe. Horace tried telling his story to the police. It was then he realized that the woman in red was another thief who had managed to trick him into giving the jewels. The real lady of the house had never even heard of him. So, Horace was sent to the place he feared the most, prison. He is now the assistant librarian in the prison library and gets angry whenever anyone mentions honor among thieves. That is where a thief does not betray another thief. Horace clearly feels that the woman in red violated this code, which led to his capture and imprisonment.